National outcry has come related to the Affordable Care Act, and that makes Republicans nervous, obviously in the midst of the repeal and replace process, and very wary about what these early town halls could mean politically.
The bold promises made on the campaign trail now running headlong into the very real repercussions. Some of the reddest corners of the country are suddenly a hotbed of, in large part, blue backlash. Thursday night it was Utah, where Congressman Jason Chaffetz could barely get a word out before being shouted down. Over issues ranging from his oversight of President Trump to his health care positions.
You want me to answer the question, give me more than 5 seconds to do it.
Or Tennessee, when pleased to save the Affordable Care Act.
And you want to take away this coverage and have nothing to replace it with.
Were not only numerous, but pointed.
I can't put all my trust in someone saying, we're going to make a plan, but we've had 6 years and we don't have the plan.
Exactly.
For Democrats, the initial town hall returns are a jolt of energy for a party still reeling after its November defeats. It's the groups on the ground, not the lead party officials who up to this point have been leading the way, officials tell CNN, and Democrats would know. Because if this looks familiar, well, it is, even if top GOP officials aren't certain how big it is yet.
The Tea Party movement was a true grassroots movement. This will look like a grassroots movement when it starts happening all over the country.
Tea Party-driven town hall tornadoes swept through the country, overtaking Democrat after Democrat throughout 2009 and 2010.
It needs to be dumped over.
And eventually leading to the GOP wave that thrust Republicans back into power in the House. It's something that already has GOP lawmakers on edge. The topic of how to protect themselves, both politically and physically, from the raucous events, coming up at a closed-door meeting in Washington this week, sources say. Included in the presentation, this video of Congressman Tom McClintock being escorted out of a town hall by police.
Why did you let us in?
The message, sources say, this backlash is real. But whatever you do, don't do this.
And Jake, House Republican leadership very concerned about the political optics of that video you just saw, telling their teams and their members, work harder on your advance. Make sure you're prepared for this very real backlash that's occurring right now. And Jake, we're going to see a lot more of it. Talking to Democratic officials, they believe this is the seeds to what they hope is their next Tea Party. The big question is it sustainable, and will it help them electorally in 2018? Jake?
All right, Phil Mattingly, thank you. Let's bring in our political panel. We have with us political writer for The Atlantic, Molly Ball, contributing editor for The Atlantic, Michelle Cottle, and senior writer for The Federalist, Mary Catherine Ham. Let's just go down the line. This was shockingly similar to the same reports going on, except angry conservatives and Democratic lawmakers in 2009 and 2010. Is it the same thing, do you think?
Well, as far as the Democrats go, this is what goes around comes around. They don't have any power base in Washington. They feel like they have to take it to the grassroots to get their message heard, and they're really kind of stoking up the anger out there across the country. So they thoroughly intend to focus on this and make it as painful as possible for Republicans to repeal any part of this.
And Molly, of course, the Tea Party protests in 2009, 2010 did foreshadow electoral victories for conservatives and Republicans in the House and then later the Senate, but Obamacare still passed.
Well, that's a very good point, and the reaction to Obamacare, I think, was a large part of why they reaped the electoral whirlwind, and so that you have Republicans really not sure how this is going to play out, sort of paralyzed. Do we do something? Do we not do something? They want to see if this has staying power. They want to see if it's real. Most Republicans I talk to still think this is being ginned up. It's, George Soros money. It's Democratic operatives. It's Planned Parenthood. This isn't real grassroots. And, I remember Republicans 8 years ago, or Democrats saying, oh, this is all Koch brothers money, this isn't a real phenomenon. And so only time will tell. I think you can't fake that kind of passion that we're seeing, but only time will tell if those activists are engaged in the long run and if they're organizing the way the Tea Party did. Because remember, the Tea Party had local chapters, they had people who stayed involved. It was a long-term phenomenon.
And what do you think? I'm hearing similar skepticism from conservatives and Republicans that this is all George Soros and whatever, but I don't know, it looks exactly the same as what we saw by conservatives 7 years ago.
Right. Democratic lawmakers at the time called them astroturf or extremist mobs, un-American, brown shirts were some. I would argue that Republicans not use that kind of terminology. It's not good for debate. But, you know, take the questions. This doesn't seem like Chaffetz's was a particularly productive meeting. So I would suggest maybe less yelling and you could actually hear his answers. But here's the question, I think, and whether it's a Tea Party, is where do those electoral victories come? Where are the constituents more liberal than their conservative representation? We know there are stories on the other side of the Obamacare issue as well. We saw them in the town hall here on CNN. And then there's also the issue of, I remember how an atmosphere of constant protest turned Wisconsin blue forever.
Right.
Oh, wait, no,
not so much.
It did not. So this actually can be counterproductive if it is, you know, at this height for a sustained period of time.
So I want to show this